Perge. Perge is located 17 kilometers away from the Antalya city center. This is actually the closest ancient city to the city of Antalya and a national treasure for Türkiye. Located on a coastal plain in between the Deedra and Aksu rivers, it is one of the most well-preserved, complete ancient cities in all of Anatolia. Perge is included on the UNESCO's tentative World Heritage List and is definitely a place to come and see when you're visiting Antalya. The city is actually based around two major streets. These streets are columned completely and are probably the most magical place to come and visit when you're here. Walking through these column streets, you can really feel what the city was like in its glory. The column streets are lined with patio-style overhangings, and behind them were actually shops. If you look on the ground underneath the patio areas, you can see that most of the mosaics are still underneath the gravel that you're walking on, just for preservation. This is the Agora of Perge. An agora is actually an outdoor market area. You could consider the city center where all of the activities that the city has going on begin. In this agora, you can see two squares basically that are inside of each other. The one on the inside, which is the open market area, and the one around the outside that's lined with the Corinthian columns going all the way around it. On the very outside of these columns was actually the shops, and these shops had both exits and entrances from both sides so that people could easily access the center area. In the middle of this square, you can see a large circular stone structure. This was actually a temple once, and later during the Byzantine times, this was turned into a fountain so that there was drinking water within the agora. The city of Perge was famous for its fountains. The fountains were called nymphaea at the time, and you can see behind me is the most famous and maybe one of the major symbols of the city. This is the fountain of Kestros. Kestros was the river god of the river Aksu, and these channels that you see running down the middle of the two column streets were actually filled with water. Now this water was used both to cool the city and to have, of course, drinking water. Behind me is the Hadrian's Gate, and if you continue up the pathway there, you reach the area where once stood the Acropolis. The Acropolis was actually a temple for the goddess Artemis. This is the South Basilica, a Byzantine church in Perge. Perge was a very important Christian city because, according to the Act of Apostles, St. Paul and St. Barnabas visited Perge in 46 AD, where St. Paul gave his first sermon, the Word of God, Acts 14:24. Perge is included in the Bible along with the Aksu River and considered a holy place for Christians. It's also included on the titular seas list for the Catholic Church. Upon entering Perge, you will notice two large structures, the amphitheater and the stadium. Right now we are inside the theater. This theater had a capacity of 12,000 people. And if you look behind me, you can see that the reliefs along the bottom are still intact. These are original. And some of the very few reliefs that you can see that are still where they were supposed to be. They usually tell the story of gods. So if you look closely, you'll be able to find a little bit of mythology inside of all of them. The stadium is very, very interesting. It also has a capacity of around 12,000 spectators, and it was used for wild animal fighting and gladiator fighting. So when you go there, try to imagine this time when gladiators would fight and people would actually watch this. This city is a spectacular city, a very important city in history, but as you walk through its column-lined streets, it really makes you feel like you're back in time. The city of Perge was an acropolis. This meant that the city was actually fortified with these giant walls. These walls are really amazing because, first of all, they were built in 223 AD, and each one of the blocks is about half a ton, with nothing holding it together except them standing on top of each other. The city itself kept safe and preserved for this long because of these walls. Once you enter the city, you'll be able to see two large towers. These towers were built in the year 333 by Alexander the Great. Perge began its decline because of the river Aksu silting in. This is why Perge started to lose its popularity, but the walls were what kept it safe. Perge, a city thought to have been established during the Hittite period. A Pamphylian city that has witnessed the rule of Persia and Lydia. It has surrendered to Alexander the Great and has lived its golden era during the Roman period. This is a city that was so important for Christianity. It has seen the rise and the fall of many different civilizations. It's waiting here for you, history and culture together, only in Türkiye.